swam yesterday. I heard the water is polluted.
Don't worry, we can find the cleanliness of the water by finding the amount of dissolved oxygen.
Really? Can you show me?
Sure, but before we do the experiment, we need to know how the experiment works. Oxygen is dissolved in water for marine life to survive. Just like we need the oxygen in the air to survive, marine life needs to inhale dissolved oxygen in the water. The amount of dissolved oxygen is affected by many factors, such as the temperature of the water, but one of the major factors is pollutants in the water. If there are lots of pollutants mixed in the water, there will be less dissolved oxygen in the water. This in turn drastically affects marine life. The experiment I will do to find the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water is called the Winkler method. By performing redox titrations with the water sample you gave me, it is able to use the results to get back the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water sample. A higher level of dissolved oxygen in the water sample shows that the water is clean and unpolluted.
First, fill the 250 cm3 volumetric flask with the water sample. Fill the flask completely with water without trapping any air bubbles. Then, using a pipette, add 1 cm3 of manganese 2 sulfate solution. And alkaline potassium iodide solution into the volumetric flask. Stopper and invert the flask several times to distribute the precipitate uniformly. Wait until the precipitate has settled. Then introduce 1 cm3 of concentrated sulfuric acid. Replace the stopper, carefully mix the flask, and allow the mixture to stand for 5 minutes until all precipitate disappears. Use a pipette to withdraw 50 cm3 of the sample into a conical flask. Fill the burette with sodium thiosulfate solution. Titrate the sample with sodium thiosulfate solution until the yellow iodine color becomes faint. Add a few drops of starch solution. The sample should become blue. Continue adding the thiosulfate solution until the color changes from blue to colorless. Repeat the titration with the sample. After the titrations, the number of moles of dissolved oxygen can be found with these equations.
Let's use the result of the water sample to calculate the amount of dissolved oxygen. So we need 5.17 times 10 to the negative 5th mole of thiosulfate solution to reach the endpoint. Looking at the mole ratio of the thiosulfate solution and iodine, we can divide by 2 to calculate the number of iodine inside the solution. Then we use the middle equation. If we apply the number of moles of iodine by 2, we get the number of moles of manganese hydroxide present. Finally, we look at the top equation. Divide the number of moles of manganese hydroxide by 4 to get the number of moles of dissolved oxygen.